In this video, I'm going to discuss my 5 favorite navigation and route planning apps for trail running. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail on how to use each app, but instead we'll highlight some of the key features of both the free and paid versions where applicable, along with some use cases. And be sure to stick around to the end where I'll highlight a handful of other apps you might want to check out as well. Now, I want to start by explaining some terminology. A GPX file is a file format designed for the transfer of GPS data, including waypoints, routes, and tracks between GPS devices and internet web services. When using some of the web-based applications we're going to talk about here, you might encounter other file formats like KML, which are designed more for annotating maps, like on Google Maps, and contain less information than a GPX file. But when it comes to building a route or importing one to your device for the purpose of navigation, GPX and KML files can be used somewhat interchangeably and can easily be converted using various online tools. Now, with that out of the way, let's jump in. And I'm going to run through these in reverse order, starting with number 5, which is Google Maps. Now, unsurprisingly, Google Maps has a comprehensive dataset for trails created from a variety of sources, including labels for many peak names. So it's great to have for in a pinch when you want to identify a fork you might have come across on the trails, or to find your way back to your car when you've gotten a little turned around. Now, Google Maps is a great tool, mainly because it's free, but you're not going to be able to do some of the things that more powerful navigation apps can do that we'll talk about, such as creating or importing routes. But it is a great thing to have in your toolbox nonetheless. Just be sure to always pre-download your maps for offline use before leaving civilization. By doing this, you'll ensure that you'll not only have the maps ready in case you're out of cell range, but you can then also keep your phone on airplane mode, which will really help with your phone's battery life. The GPS on your phone still works well in airplane mode, but this ensures it's not constantly looking for a signal. Now, coming in at number 4, FatMap is an app that I more recently discovered that's designed primarily for skiing, but it works great for trail running as well. It's a really useful way to visualize your terrain in 3D, which is so hard to do just by looking at two-dimensional topographic maps. You can add terrain layers to include visualizations of aspects, gradients, and elevation. And with the paid version, you can access a ton of other features that would be really helpful for in the winter, such as snow depth, as well as the ability to download your maps for offline use. The web interface is great as well, although I find the app much more intuitive to use by pinching and zooming on the maps. But the web interface does allow you to create custom routes that can then be loaded on the app for use in the field. Integrate it with Strava to automatically sync your activities from Strava back to FatMaps so you can explore them later in 3D. Now at number 3, Peak Finder AR is not a navigation app per se, but it's such a great tool for peak bagging, and it's one that I use so often that I had to include it on this list. Simply hold up your phone, align it with the recognizable feature, and the app will tell you all of the peaks that are in view. You can adjust the distance so that it labels peaks closer or further away, and you can take pictures with the labels overlaid. Now, a quick tip here, most of the settings can be changed while you're exporting the photos back at home, including the alignments, so there's no need to mess around with these in the moment. Just take your shot and worry about it later. Now, this is a paid app and it's not cheap, but for me, it has been worth every penny. Now at number 2 on my list is Strava, which is a website and app, of course, best known for its social features, allowing you to connect with and follow other runners. But it's also a great tool for getting ideas and data for routes. Using the web interface, you can also build, share, and export routes, which you can then import into other apps or to sync to your watch. What I like most about Strava for route building is the popularity feature, which works even when building a route off trail. Strava is especially powerful if you have the paid version, which allows you to download the GPX file from activities of other users without having to message the person and ask them to export it for you. I get a lot of messages from friends looking for GPX files of my routes, and this feature was the main reason I upgraded and have continued to renew year after year. You can, of course, record runs in-app, but I prefer to record on my Suunto 9 GPS watch and then to sync using the Suunto Strava integration. A watch is much more convenient and reliable. It's typically going to have much better battery life than a phone, and this way, most importantly, I can save my phone's battery life in case of an emergency. Strava does offer in-app navigation, but while I consider it a great tool for route planning, it's just not something I use while on the trail. There's also a beacon feature, which can share real-time location data with your friends and family. But this is not only going to really drain your battery, but it can't really be relied upon in the backcountry where cell service tends to be sparse. I'd highly recommend instead investing in something like the Garmin InReach Mini, which can provide much more reliable tracking via satellite and also provides the peace of mind of an SOS button in case you need to call for help. Oh, and by the way, I am on Strava, so in case you'd like to follow along with my training, I'll include a link in the description below. And finally, my favorite app for both route planning and navigation is Gaia. Gaia GPS is an advanced web-based route building tool that also has an app. With the paid version, you can sync your routes across multiple devices and can then easily use your phone to navigate your routes. Of course, this is possible without paying by exporting from the web version and then importing it manually into the app. But for power users like me, I think paying is a no-brainer, given that the premium subscription also allows you to download your maps for offline navigation, which is super important. Gaia really is the most powerful and intuitive route builder I've used. You can import or create and overlay multiple routes, which is a really cool way to compare different routes and tracks. You can organize everything into folders, and you can make your routes public and share links with your friends. The reason that Gaia is my favorite app is because of all the apps and resources I use. It's the one product that can do both the detailed level of route planning I require, as well as navigation when needed. I plan on doing a much more in-depth video exclusive for channel members where I'll walk through some examples of my entire workflow, from researching a route on Strava, building it in Gaia, and then syncing it to my watch. So stay tuned until the end of the video to learn how you can get access to that. All right, so time for some honorable mentions. First up is CalTopo, which is very similar to Gaia, offering both a web-based version and an iOS app. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with this one, but it functions in much the same way as Gaia when it comes to route building and navigation tools, so it's one that I do plan on testing out more in the future. But it's not as intuitive to use or well designed as Gaia in terms of its user interface from what I've seen so far. AllTrails is another super powerful app for both discovering routes and creating your own. You can record a track in-app, and the paid version allows downloading maps for offline use. Now, I know that AllTrails is the go-to app for many trail runners and hikers, but I've just never really found a need for it amongst the other applications I mentioned previously, but it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you're looking for some new trails to explore. Google Earth, just like FatMaps, can be used to visualize terrain in 3D, either using the web interface, dedicated desktop application, or with the mobile app. The web interface and desktop app both allow you to import KML files or to create projects from scratch. And the best part is that it's free to use. I still prefer FatMaps myself though, given that it's designed specifically for this use, making it quicker to use, as well as having so many additional data layers relevant for mountain navigation. RunGo, which was developed right here in Vancouver, provides turn-by-turn audio directions while on the run and even has an augmented reality feature. It works especially well for road running and for urban trails when you're visiting a new city, as it allows you to easily discover and follow routes nearby. Guthook is an app used by many thru hikers for hikes like the PCT. It shows not only the route, but each trailhead, campsite, water source, and other data, with user-submitted updates. We used it for our fast-packing attempt of the Tahoe Rim Trail and found it super helpful in locating water sources. While the app is free, it does cost money for each route, so it's really designed more for longer thru hikes or fast packs, where it makes sense to invest in downloading the data for a single route that you're going to be using for days or possibly weeks at a time. The new Suunto app is a really great way to create routes, which can then be synced instantly with your watch and loaded for you to follow along with. The old Moves Count software from Suunto left quite a bit to be desired, but I think that Suunto really nailed it with this new app. I personally use this all the time, but of course it's only really going to be useful if you in fact own a Suunto watch, which is why I didn't include it in my main list. Design routes on the fly or import existing routes to upload to your watch. And like with Strava, you can record runs directly in-app or use it to sync your watch after a run over Bluetooth, and then in turn have it automatically post to Strava for you. And last but not least, I want to highlight the Compass app, which comes built into both iOS and Android devices. While this shouldn't be relied upon as a replacement for a physical compass when navigating by map and compass, it can be used in a pinch for orienting yourself. But the feature I really want to point out about the Compass app is that it will provide your GPS coordinates, which can be super important in case of an emergency. If you do find yourself having to call for help, being able to provide your location to search and rescue accurately can be crucial. Now, I want to stress that while navigational apps and GPS watches are great supplemental tools, they're not a replacement for a paper map and compass, which I typically still do carry in the backcountry or when I'm exploring a new area. And I'm sure that there are a ton of other tools out there that I've yet to try, so tell me about the navigation and route planning apps that you use in the comments below. And if you've been following my channel for a while, consider becoming a channel member by clicking the join button in a web browser below any of my videos. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for more videos like this.